Hi, I'm Ron Jones from Lean Brace. I'm a historical kinesiologist and the PE historian for the La Sierra High PE Film Project. I'd like to start sharing with you some of the research we've uncovered over the last probably 3 or so years, researching La Sierra High and how to unlock the movement code and some of the vintage calisthenic drills that they did in their training methodology. One thing that became apparent at the beginning of this research was how important the relationship was between President John F. Kennedy and Stan Laprade in La Sierra High School. La Sierra was President Kennedy's poster child, if you will, for physical education. I'm going to share with you something, do a little bit of reading today. This is the Youth Physical Fitness Suggested Elements of a School Center Program, Parts 1 and 2, published by the President's Council on Youth Fitness in 1961. What I'm going to read for you today is President Kennedy's message to the country regarding physical education, physical fitness for youth. Pretty important. Very important to listen to history to guide us for the future because we need it now more than ever. A presidential message to the schools on the physical fitness of youth. The strength of our democracy is no greater than the collective well-being of our people. The vigor of our country is no stronger than the vitality and will of all our countrymen. The level of physical, mental, moral, and spiritual fitness of every American citizen must be our concern. The need for increased attention to the physical fitness of our youth is clearly established. Although today's young people are fundamentally healthier than the youth of any previous generation, the majority have not developed strong, agile bodies. The softening process of our civilization continues to carry on its persistent erosion. It is of great importance, then, that we take immediate steps to ensure that every American child be given the opportunity to make and keep himself physically fit, fit to learn, fit to understand, to grow in grace and stature, to fully live. In answering this challenge, we look to our schools and colleges as the decisive force in a renewed national effort to strengthen the physical fitness of youth. Many of our schools have long been making strenuous efforts to assist our young people attain and maintain health and physical fitness. But we must do more. We must expand and improve our health services, health education and physical education. We must increase our facilities and the time devoted to physical activity. We must invigorate our curricula and give high priority to a crusade for excellence in health and fitness. To members of school boards, school administrators, teachers, and pupils themselves, I am directing this urgent call to strengthen all programs which contribute to the physical fitness of our youth. I strongly urge each school to adopt 3 specific recommendations of my Council on Youth Fitness. Number 1, identify the physically underdeveloped pupil and work with him to improve his physical capacity. Number 2, provide a minimum of 15 minutes of vigorous, everyday activity for all pupils. Number 3, use valid fitness tests to determine pupils' physical abilities and evaluate their progress. The adoption of these recommendations by our schools will ensure the beginning of a sound basic program of physical developmental activity. In our total fitness efforts, the schools, of course, will not stand alone. I urge that in all communities there be more coordination between the schools and the community, parents, educators, and civic-minded citizens in carrying forward a resourceful, vigorous program for physical fitness. A program that will stir the imagination of our youth, calling on their toughest abilities, enlisting their greatest enthusiasm, a program which will enable them to build the energy and strength that is their American heritage. President John F. Kennedy, July of 1961. So I'd like to just highlight some of the language that President Kennedy used. He's actually quite versed in the history of movement and fitness going back to ancient Greece, and he did a very eloquent job talking about and promoting the physical lifestyle, the physical vigor, if you will. So here's a couple words to pick out. Vigor, vitality, physical, mental, and spiritual fitness. Renewed national effort. Invigorate. I strongly urge, cueing in on the physically underdeveloped, vigorous activity, valid fitness test, more coordination, vigorous imagination, toughest abilities, strength, and of course the final two words, American heritage. Let me go back through this and kind of pick out a couple of things here that he's talking about. This mind, body, spirit notion or concept that he talks so much about in his speeches and writings goes back to ancient Greece. It was sound mind, sound body. So this is nothing new, but he knew history and knew how to play that forward and basically get us all in a balanced state. So he talks about a renewed national effort as well. And so he was big on rebuilding the country in the early 1960s, and La Sierra was a critical part of that rebuilding of America. And if you look at physical fitness capability, we really peaked in World War II, and it's all been downhill from there, except when JFK was president. There was a little spike in fitness, and he was really instrumental in getting that going again. And basically, sad but true, physical education died with JFK. And so what we're trying to do now with La Sierra and some other movements is regenerate that, rejuvenate it, and get it going again. On his 3 points, this is interesting to talk about. Number one, identify the physically underdeveloped pupil and work with him to improve his physical capacity. To be quite honest today, most students in America are physically underdeveloped. So we're talking about a national crisis, so to speak. We have a whole country of children that need what JFK was referring to as, a few select people. And now we have a whole nation of children that are physically underdeveloped. And not just physically, of course, but there are mental and spiritual issues related to that as well. His second point, provide a minimum of 15 minutes of vigorous activity every day for all pupils. That is extremely needed today with technology. If you've been following the latest statistics and reports and writings on this, it's very concerning, the lack of any kind of movement that children do, let alone quality physical education where they're actually developing some kind of motor skill development and ability to move with quality. Number three, use valid fitness tests to determine pupils' physical abilities and evaluate their progress. The testing was very, very important in classical PE. It wasn't just this, throw the ball out, go play, and just run around and haphazardly. There was an accountability, and there was a testing process and very sophisticated testing going on. And in those days, there were very professional physical education teachers. They knew how to do this, and it's absolutely humbling to see what they wrote about in the 1940s and 50s and what they were doing and how sophisticated the testing was. It's very important to be tracking the student's progress, and so many of the tests today are, quite frankly, lame compared to 50 years ago. He also talks about coordination between the whole community, and this is the one for all for one concept. It's a great national effort. It's not isolated. It's not like this team fighting that team. It's everybody working together, and that's when the magic happens. And our country really hasn't been together since 9/11. There was a brief moment there, and then we go back to the Cuban Missile Crisis, and prior to that, World War II. Of course, that was a great national effort where basically we were all on the same page, and as we had to be. Okay, he uses the word vigor a lot, and he really believes in the vigorous life. JFK did have a pretty severe back injury, and he was actually getting quite better with that at the point when he was assassinated. He was working with Dr. Hans Kraus and Dr. Travell and the trigger point therapy and different types of exercises to improve his back condition. So part of JFK's, or a large part, or the driving force behind his passion to talk about the vigorous life was he himself was getting rejuvenated and rebuilt behind the scenes with exercise. And that was his background. He was quite an athlete growing up, and a valiant soldier in the war as well. So that's a little bit about some of the history of one of our resources. This is the Youth Physical Fitness booklet, 1961 July. And I hope you enjoyed President Kennedy's message, and I hope you listen and move it forward.